Hello there and then welcome to a brand new video. This is Hub Beyond Numbers where we learn maths the easy way. I do hope you are doing well and then the learning journey is also going well as well. In this video, we are looking at quadratic trinomials. In our previous videos, we looked at the method of grouping and then the method of common factors. All these had what? Even number of terms. The method of grouping had 2, whilst the method of common factors also had an even number as well. But then in this quadratic trinomials, the terms are 3. So how do we factorize when the terms are 3? That is what we'll be looking at in here. So stay tuned, get your pens and then your notebook, even as we look into it. Without much I say, let's quickly start something. Now, it is important to note that trinomials, we looked at monomial, binomials, and we said monomials have just one term. 2 terms are those of what? Binomials. Trinomials are of 3 terms, and they are usually written as ax squared plus bx plus c. All right. Now, the a you have here is always the a, b, and c can be any values at all. They can be constants, especially. So we have a, b, and then c being any values at all. Now, the a is the coefficient of x squared, and the b is the coefficient of x, whilst the c is just a constant that stands on its own. So if you want to factorize these type of expressions, how do we do? Let's look at the general overview of how we do that. So for a general overview, what we usually do is you multiply whatever value you have as your a. Sometimes it could be 1. If it's 1, fine, you can just easily work it out. But if it is not 1, you multiply the value of a here by c. That is, we are looking for the product of a and then c. So we want a, c. You want its product. Now, after you get its product, you now look for its factor pairs. So we look for its factor pairs. We don't want just any factor pairs, but then we actually want factor pairs, which when added together will give us the value of b over here. It is an overview and you might be confused a little, but just understand the overview, after which when we are solving some examples, you get to know how to apply them. So you multiply a by c, they will look for the factor pairs of AC, which when added together will give us the b. If you are able to do that, then you now split b with these factor pairs. You split b with a factor pairs, and that would help you get an even number of terms. So from 3 terms, that is trinomials, we will change it into what? An even number of terms. Then we go back to our previous method, that is the method of grouping, and then we solve accordingly. So let's take some examples so we try and then see how this method works. Okay, so let's look at this first example here. It says 2x squared plus 3x then plus 1. So let's write down quickly here, which is 2x squared plus our 3x plus our 1. So you need to take note of what your a is, what your b is, and then what your c is. For this first example, let's do that, but if we understand, there will be no need writing them over and over again. So our a is 2, our b is 3, and our c is 1. We are comparing it with what we have over here. All right. So just looking at it, we have our a, which is the coefficient of x squared, being what? 2. The coefficient of x being what? 3. And the c being 1. If we have taken note of them, the method says we should find the product of a and then c. The product of a and c. So this simply means that AC is going to be our 2 times 1. 2 times 1, that is the value of C multiplying the value of A. And 2 times 1 gives us 2. Now that we have our product, we look for factor pairs of 2. By factor pairs, what we simply mean is if you take a factor of 2, which is one of the factors of 2 is what? 2. 2 times what gives us 2? We have 1. So these here are factor pairs. You can take another one if you think you are not satisfied. So you have -2 and then -1. That also gives us a +2. That is if we multiply them. Well, establishing the fact that if we multiply 2 by 1, we get 2. Or if we multiply -2 by -1, we get 2. Let's ask ourselves, of these, which of them sums up to give us the value of b over here? We know the value of b is 3. So let's come back to the factors. 2 plus 1 gives us what? 3. So this here satisfies, and that would even be nice or enough to solve our question for us. What of this here? -2 plus -1. That gives us a -3. But looking at what we have here, our b is a +3. Hence, this cannot even solve the solution. Hence, we are going to use this. So what that means is we are rewriting our equation, our expression this here, so that we have 2x squared, then plus, instead of the 3 we have over here, we are going to substitute it with what? 2 plus 1. So instead of 3, we have 2 plus 1, with its variable being x, and then plus 1. This is the first step of our solution. You see, now this is what is going to help us to now solve using the method of grouping. How is it going to do that? Now, if we are to look here carefully, you would realize that you can open up this bracket. In what way? So we have 2x squared, then the 2 here multiplies our x to give us a 2x. That is, this 2 multiplies this x, giving us plus 2x. And then also, this 1 multiplies this x to give us a what? A positive x, then plus 1. Now, we are solving as method of grouping. So we have x, 2x squared plus 2x as our first group term, and then x plus 1 also as our second group term. What does this and then this have in common? They have 2 in common. So we bring out that 2. And with respect to the variables, they have x in common. So that x also comes out. Then into brackets, 2x times what gives us 2x squared. We have our x. This here is just an application of the method of grouping. So you can visit that video and then get more understanding from that. So you can continue from here. So you have plus 2x times what gives us 2x? It is 1. Now, what does these also have in common? They have just a 1 in common, because there's a coefficient of 1 here and 1 is also here. So we have 1 outside. 1 times what gives us x? We have our x, and 1 times what gives us 1? So positive 1. Hence, we have 1 times x giving us x, 1 times 1 giving us what? 1. Now, if we look at this carefully, this bracket here is the same as this bracket here. So just as we've always done, we can write x plus 1 out. Then as coefficient, we have 2x plus 1. And this will be what? Our factorization of this over here. The method of quadratic trinomials is very simple if you understand. So I'll go over it again. I'll solve just one more example so the video doesn't become so long, after which you can go over it again and again to get more understanding. We are having 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. Let's multiply the value of a by the value of c. And the value of a over here is 2. That of c here is 1. So 2 times 1 gives us what? A 2. Now that we have this 2 over here, we are looking for its factor pairs. I've explained what factor pairs mean. So we are looking for what its factor pairs, which when added gives us the value of b over here. We tested and we realized that that is what 2 and then 1. So instead of 3 now, we are writing 2 plus 1. And we expand that to get 4 terms to be able to use the method of grouping to solve. Let's take one more example to enhance our understanding, after which I'll give some exercises as well. In this last example here, we have to factorize 5x squared minus 2x minus 3. So how do we go about it? Just as we did the previous one, we are following the same steps. So we have 5x squared minus 2x, then minus 3. So we first of all do what? Multiply our a by our c. This time around, our a is 5, and then our c is negative 3. So 5 times negative 3 gives us a negative 15. Then we are now looking for factor pairs of negative 15, which when added gives us what? A negative 2. There are so many factors. So let's just take the one that will satisfy. For instance, if we have 5 times negative 3, 5 times negative 3 itself gives us negative 15, right? And if we add it, do we get negative 2? No. But then we get a positive 2. So this here will certainly not work for us. Let's take another factor pair. So another factor of 15 can be negative 5. Negative 5 times 3. If we multiply, do we get negative 15? Yes. If we add, do we get negative 2? That is also a yes. You see? So if that is the case, instead of negative 2, then we are going to substitute the negative 2 with what? Negative 5 and then 3. So how do we do that? We write our 5x squared. Then instead of the negative 2, we are going to substitute negative 2 with what? Negative 5 plus 3. Negative 5 plus 3. So since we'll be putting it in a bracket, let me just bring my plus. Then negative 5 plus 3. Then our x comes outside. Then we have our minus 3. So let's evaluate this bracket here. So that we have 5x squared. Then negative 5 multiplies x to give us a negative 5x. 3 multiplies x to give us a positive 3x. Then we have our minus 3 as well over here. This is now method of grouping. So 5 and 5 here are common to these first two terms. So we put down our 5. Then what of the variables? They have x in common. We bring our bracket. We divide 5x squared by 5x. And that gives us an x. Then minus 5x times what gives us a 5x. That is a 1. Then for these also, we have positive 3 being common to both. Positive 3 times what gives us a 3x. That is an x. And positive 3 times what gives us negative x. That is negative 1. And as you can see, this bracket here is the same as this bracket here. So you write that out. Then the coefficient of the bracket also come to be in one bracket. That is 5x plus 3. With this, our term have been what? Factorized successfully. So this is how we evaluate or factorize trinomials. I do hope you understand. You can always go back and then slow down the video and try to understand. For the sake of time, I wouldn't be able to do enough examples. So here are some exercises you can also try on your own. And you can always let me know at the comment section or book an appointment with me if you want further explanation. So let's go to some exercises. So these are some examples you can try on your own, after which you can comment the answers out and then I would attend to them if I'm notified. In our next video, we'll be looking at how to factorize using the difference of two squares. How to factorize using the difference of two squares. So see you in our next video and stay safe. God bless you.